All right, in this tutorial, I want to go through and basically show you what I demonstrated in class, so that way you have a video to go back and reference. You can see here that I have, well, these are the two that I assembled in class, that the seam became very visible when the second version tried to enter from in behind the first. So even in my samples, there's some things to learn and things to try or to clean up on. And the same thing happened here again with Shamel. And so I think we got a really good idea or a really good setup going for Shamel's clone video, but we ended up with some issues. So I want to show a few things here on how I optimize the space, the workspace, and then get set up for the creation of a clone video. So this will probably be longer than I want it to be, but I'll get right to it. First thing I did is I opened up my file, and I have this viewed out here, but I also marked my favorite, the part where this would be instance 1. I also dropped a marker on top of the very first clap in his rock, paper, scissors, hand smack. Did the same thing. There was a part here where we were talking about what the next step was, and then we took the second spot, so he's now in the middle of the scene playing both of the other two versions of himself, and the very first smack of his hands we put a marker on as well to help sync up the clips, and then the third version here where he loses and sits down as well. So I marked all three of these. If you're unable to skim your clips, under View, make sure skimming and clip skimming are both on. I also enable snapping. I always leave audio skimming off. You'll drive everyone around you insane, especially if you have no headphones on. If you have headphones on, go ahead, feel free to drive yourself insane, but skimming over your audio is really distorted and really annoying to deal with. All right, I also stretched out and made my viewer much smaller. I'm not into the details right now of the viewer, but I'm going to stretch this back or slide it back over so I can now start to see what I'm really interested in. And these clips up here are already identified, so I can work with them later. You can also click on your library and turn its visibility on and off. So right now I just gained some screen real estate by just working that capacity, and I just maximize the screen real estate. So I got a full viewer over here. I got a little bit of space that I need to work out of. And what you can do is if you click your favorited content, you can click and drag it straight down into your project. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this clip with Shamel's rock, paper, scissors. Command minus to back out, command plus to zoom in. There's version 1. I'm going to move version 2 in here. I'm going to drag it just below it. I'm going to slide it over until my markers snap. So those are directly on top of each other. So it should be pretty close to synced up right off the bat. And then version 3 I'm going to bring down here below as well. Hopefully, there we go. This moves over. And looks like somewhere in there is going to be the second set of smacks. Where's the last rock, paper, scissors? All right. I didn't mark the second beat. Bang. So M on this clip, put another marker, and because this is the second game being played. All right, we now have all the rock, paper, scissors matching up between instance 1 and the middle, between the middle and instance 3, I guess I should say, 2 and 3, and those are synced up based on the first count of the rock, paper, scissors count. All right, so I have some markers indicating where I want things synced up. This could be a part of dialogue that you mark out. Putting markers in really helps to create your timing. All right, so I have these three stacked, these three clone instances stacked. Now the goal is to go through and reveal your content. So as this is a stack of papers, I'm currently only seeing the top clip. I need to cut off a portion of that top clip, trim it off to reveal what's behind it. So in this first instance, Shamel is always on the right side of the video. So I'm going to hit crop in the lower left-hand corner of the viewer, and I'm going to make sure trim is selected before I grab one of these purple, bluish purple edges to my clip. Once you grab that, you can drag it over. I'm going to bring this over just to start right around the edge of this table. All right, one thing that we did before we started recording is we kind of figured the 3 locations. So in this point, we were saying if Shamel puts his right hip against this part of the table, there's actually a chair sitting there. He's in a good spot. He's not going to take up too much of the scene. If he puts his right hip against the edge of this table or the middle of this table, we also know he'll be in good position so our seams don't get crossed. And then when he gets into the third, he's going to be standing with his left leg up against this stool before he eventually sits down. All of this is designed to help keep good spacing between the clips. So what I'm able to now see is hopefully rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And we got a scissors being defeated by a rock. All right. Now, when we turn to the other side, we got to make sure that the next layer reveals what's below it. So in order to see this left instance where my skimming playhead is showing me, I got to get rid of what's above it on the left side of the screen. So I'm going to select that. Trim is selected, and I got to click and drag back some more. All right. Again, I got a vertical edge of this table, I think, is where I'm going to anchor mine to start off and see how that looks. Let's play it through. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And one thing we noticed right away after we had shot the clip was that he shot paper on both of this last clip. So there's really no winner. One of those two had to be planned a little better or executed a little better to where he's no longer shooting paper. He's shooting, well, that was paper and he was going to lose. So he has to be throwing rock. So one of these two would have had to been changed for this to actually work out the way we want it to. But what we can see here is as this plays through, right there's the beginning of the clip, or should be the beginning of the clip. Would also have to cut out when I'm speaking, so that way you can just hear the hands clapping out, rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and that there is a winner and a loser. So I think this worked out particularly well, minus the paper being shot on the two versions. Would have to go through and duck out some audio. And in addition, need to now, because this is stitched together the way we want it to be, yeah, cut the beginning of this one off. All right. So now that they're all starting at the same point or close to the same point, I can compound them, and then I can create a new compound clip. Show you how this works. New compound clip smashes all 3 of these together. I'm going to turn off the crop feature here. And at the beginning, he kind of pops into the frame, so that's right around where we want to start. What we can do is use this to trim our project back to a good starting point. All right, so all 3 are currently there. We can see that we got the clone set up and everything's timed out well. At the end, we'll probably have a similar instance where these clips are ending at different times and causing problems. Actually, at this point, he also crossed the seam. We could move the seam a little bit as well. But if we were to end this thing around here, I think we have a completed clone instance. And there's no areas where I can visibly notice a problem. If you have to go in and change something, in the case I already mentioned, you'll need to go in and duck some audio. I can see where I'm talking, some of these really loud points. You would just have to duck the audio. One way you can do that is hitting Option, putting a little marker on your audio bar, and you can drop out the audio in those unwanted portions of background audio. So wouldn't hear me talking anymore. So you can see how I Option clicked on the audio bar and then ducked down that portion to create that transition. All right, once I get out of here, that is a completed clone. This is what is needed for your first submission. So export it as Apple 1080 and get that submitted to me. We will be creating a green screen overlay next.